Alex Door coming at you live from my basement in North Amherst. This is my first video that I'm making, and hopefully I'm going to make a lot more educational videos and telling people what I'm up to and how they can grow a lot of food. Right here is my shiitake tent where I'm growing shiitake mushrooms. These just got out of the soaking bath, and hopefully in about a week and a half, these will be producing beautiful mushrooms. Got a humidifier over here, and I'm measuring the CO2 with a notebook and a monitor. Just making sure it's below 1,000 parts per million, and the humidity's, around 70 to 80%. And my goal is to add spirulina, which is a blue-green algae, in here to sequester the carbon dioxide that these shiitake blocks are producing, and in return give them back oxygen. And yeah, and so right now I am just growing the shiitake and measuring the average CO2. So once I add the spirulina, I can calculate the average CO2 loss and how much CO2 the spirulina is sequestering. Over here I have beautiful Pleurotus ostriatus mushrooms, which is oyster mushrooms, and I had these before in my school's greenhouse, but they were drying up so quick, so I had them under these plastic bags, and as you can see, there's pins starting to form, and hopefully soon there's going to be lots of beautiful mushrooms. Right here we have a bunch of crickets that I just got, and I'm actually feeding them microgreens and some leftover fruit, vegetables, and some oats. The cattle industry is one of the most unsustainable industries there is, and so with this, growing insects, we can gain a lot more protein for a lot less space. And even though our society doesn't want to get over the gross factor of eating insects, insects are eaten all around the world, and it's a much more sustainable industry. And so this is why I want to experiment with it and maybe grind it up in a powder, so it's not like really gross for people to be looking in the face of an insect and eating it, and make some pastries and make some really cool things with it, some smoothies, whatever. And hopefully feeding them the nutrient-dense microgreens to these already nutrient-dense microfoods will in turn make a really, really nutrient-dense microfood, which is awesome, which is super cool, and I'm all about that. Less space to require the most dense amount of nutrients is what I think this society really needs. And going off of that, this is spirulina, and this is the blue-green algae. NASA said that people can survive entirely off of this, which is crazy, and they want to send astronauts to space with just this in powder form. The fresh is better, and so every day I'm just adding more water and nutrients to this mixture and kind of shaking it up, and hopefully pretty soon this whole tank will be filled, and I'll keep expanding and expanding, and then adding it into my mushroom tents and sequestering the CO2 and producing this really nutrient-dense food. And hopefully I want to experiment with more cyanobacteria and algae, and in symbiosis with fungi, because these fungi and cyanobacteria we're one of the building blocks of life, and it's really exciting to experiment with, the four founders of this earth and kind of the building blocks of life, and it's really exciting. So future projects, I definitely want to grow more insects and more algae, experiment with more different kinds of insects like mealworms, and chlorella, and definitely different kinds of mushrooms, and I want to definitely produce more microgreens, and with the excess cocoa coir that is the substrate for microgreens that I'm using. I can use that after I harvest the microgreens and recycle it and put it in these 5-gallon buckets with used coffee grounds from local coffee shops and gypsum and maybe some agricultural waste like straw and some other stuff to grow mushrooms off of. And once I harvest the mushrooms, I want to create these permaculture systems, which is using worms to create really good worm castings and compost, which is incredible for the soil, and it is really dense in bacteria, beneficial bacteria and fungi, which is incredible for our soil. With the expanding population and these corporations, these industries, we are losing soil. And it's turning into dirt and sand, and we cannot produce our food. And so we need this really, really good soil, and we need to put the carbon back into the soil and keep building the soil. And with me, I'm producing all these mushrooms, which is actually releasing more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which seems crazy. And so I want to incorporate, you know, these algae and worms to sequester the carbon, and at the same time of producing these beautiful mushrooms and recycling these agricultural wastes and, you know, use coffee grounds. How many people out there drink coffee every morning and just like recycle and use this dense matter as energy and to produce food, and so we can keep the cycles going and produce nutrient dense food for people. And hopefully I'll make a lot more videos and show people how to do this. If anyone's interested, just shoot me out a comment or like send me a message, and I would love to work with anyone. Hopefully this is inspiring and I can keep up the work. Yeah, much love.